During the times of calamities and nationwide or worldwide catastrophes, people move from one place to another. Under the pressures from the environment or the society, grand changes happen, and people leave their homes and seek new ones. Throughout history, it usually happens during the times of war or great ecological changes. Scarcity of pastures was the initial impetus for the migration of the Turkic tribes from the steppes of Asia and Siberia towards Western Asia to the Anatolian plateau. And then that was ramped up by the Mongol encroachment westwards in Asia in the 13th century. During earlier times, similar events were behind the migration of the Germanic tribes throughout the Roman Empire, all the way to the British Isles. Calamities aren't the only reason behind grand migrations, however, because also the opening of opportunities that are far better than those at home are usually an incentive. Advantageous conditions lure people to carry their luggage and go through great lengths of instability and adversity, hoping to achieve better futures for themselves and their families. Like when the Europeans came in flux to the Americas, starting in the 15th century with the Spanish and the Portuguese, and soon enough the Dutch, British, and French followed suit. A similar small migration is taking place in various places around the world, but mainly it's indoors migration, or migration within the same country. Most noticeably, it's the eastward migration of the Canadians from the big cities to the Atlantic seaboard. People in large numbers, in tens of thousands, are arriving from Toronto and elsewhere in Ontario, and even from faraway cities in the petroleum-rich centers in the West, seeking residence in the Atlantic seaboard of Canada, in places like Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. And the stimulus or trigger behind that grand migration is, of course, the corona pandemic and its grand effect in people's lives, socially, financially, and at work. Under pressures of inflation and increased urbanization, the cost of housing in the United States and Canada has increased dramatically, and people are looking for new options, lower taxes, and a more free style of life. They have become disenchanted with the life in the city and are becoming more prone to settling in villages and small towns in far-flung areas. A number of towns in Newfoundland and other regional towns in the area have witnessed an increased uptick in migration from major Canadian cities. In those small towns, which were prosperous during the 19th and 20th century but had undergone a decline under the pressure of regulation of fishing of caught fish during the 1990s, then local residents migrated to other places around Canada, whether urban or rural. Now these places are witnessing arrival of people who seek residence in their towns. A reverse migration. That move has become increasingly attractive for people in the cities for a couple of reasons. Number one, as I have said, because the prices of housing has increased in cities. And number two, the change in work conditions brought around due to the corona pandemic triggered and fastened that trend. It has become increasingly easier for people to work online at home without the need to be physically available at work. That's why people now, more than any time in the human history, can keep on carrying out their jobs without relocating to far-flung places. Moreover, by moving to the east, they find themselves freed of the pressures of living in the city, like of the traffic and the increased prices of services and crowding. The residents of these small towns have mixed feelings toward the arrival of these new settlers. In the beginning, they felt happy to accommodate more people, enriching their communities. Also, more residents meant more services, more facilities, more places for fun and outgoing, and of course, more revenue for their towns in general, which would provide better services for them and their children in the long run. But on the other hand, the arrival of migrants in great numbers has brought a number of downsides as well. The most concerning one was the financial aspect, because immediately there was a severe shortage of housing. Local residents and their families could no longer find accommodation for their extended families, sons and daughters. Because the migrants coming from the urban cities have larger pouches and easily swept away a number of lucrative houses at prices that were affordable for them, of course, when compared with the prices they left behind in the major urban cities. Also, the increased value of housing meant higher land and house taxes. Moreover, until more facilities are built to accommodate all the new residents, the price of services will continue to shoot up. And then there is the problem of cultural assimilation, the traditions and customs of the region that the newcomers come to defy. A number of the new residents were not only liberal and irreligious, but also some of them were homosexual couples. And that defied and intimidated the relatively traditional and conservative communities in these small towns. So it's not a smooth transition for the local residents, nor the newcomers, and only time can tell how things would proceed into the future. That's it for today. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. Goodbye.